Bum, bum, bum. Shoot, I need that. Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling tune-up Tuesday. Yes, and I know the topic for tonight seems a little strange. It says thankful for hot weather. When would you ever be thankful for hot weather? Especially this one. This one who doesn't like hot temperatures. Yet, I chose to live in Arizona. Well, there's an interesting story about that. But first of all, what tunes were you rocking out to today as you were building your businesses? What music were you listening to today? It was Tunesy Tuesday. In fact, I forgot to put my music on today. I didn't rock out to any music today except for what was in my head because I forgot to put the actual music on. Which sometimes I forget to do, and that's okay because there's enough music going on in my head. So we just rock out to whatever's going on, and it just jumps from song to song to song to song. And then there's one that'll get stuck in the head, and I'm like, I really don't like that song. But that's the way it goes. So, why am I thankful for hot weather today? Let me tell you a story. So, this morning we go for our walk. Zeffie's got her harness on, we've got her leash on, got my glasses on, my shades are on, the hat's on. It's like 90-something degrees outside, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's like 90-something degrees outside. So we've already got the awning out. It's going to be a good day, although the awning did come in at 2 o'clock this afternoon. But with 12 to 23 mile an hour winds, no, not leaving the awning out. But, so this is what happened. So we step out like we normally do, and as I'm stepping out, I'm looking at Bluebird, which is sitting right there in front of us, and I'm like, that back window looks like it's open, but I'm looking at the back window on the driver's side. Closest to me is the passenger's side, and I can see that and I was standing there, I'm like, it looks like that back window was open on the driver's side because it's only part way down. And I'm like, oh, crap. No, it can't be. When would I have put it down? And I'm trying to figure through all this. And so I lock up the RV and walk over and I thought, I can't have left it. No, it must be a trick thing. And because I have the screens, I have these stockings that go over the top of the door. So you've got solar screens on each side of the window. It's really hard in certain lights to tell if the window's up or down. And because it wasn't blowing any wind, you couldn't see it pushing into the. So I put my hand up on the screen and it just goes all the way in. And I'm like, ooh. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, how long has this been down? Because we had all that rain coming through this weekend. We had that major storm on Saturday night. We had that repeat of the storm on Sunday night. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's going to be like water in there, everything. And so and Zeffie's sort of like, come on, I want to go for a walk. I'm like, no, we got to check this out first. And so I unlocked the car, opened the back door, and the passenger side is one that we always have down when we're in the car because that's the side that she pushes her nose through the screen to smell all the air and everything. And the other side, we just have it down a bit to help with the buffering noise. And I open it up. Everything inside is bone dry. Everything. And then I remembered that it would have been Sunday because Sunday we were doing a little tiki tour around the resort, checking out all the damage and everything. And I had the window down for her. And she was checking things out. And I had the driver's window down, which was thankfully up. And I had my normal windows down in the back for her. And so I thought, okay, it was Sunday, but we still had a lot of rain on Sunday. And I'm like feeling the seats, I'm feeling the floor, feeling the carpet, feeling the back of the front seat. Everything is bone dry. And I'm like, oh. And then I realized that this would have come through on Sunday night because we were in the car on Sunday. So we didn't get as much rain as we did on Saturday night, but we still got a lot of rain on Sunday. And the last time I left the windows down during a downpour, very little actually got into the car because these screens are it was a double mesh, and they're not a very open mesh. You can see through them from the inside, and Zeffie can sniff through them fine, but they're not like, when you're looking at them, is the window up or down? You can't tell unless you go up and start feeling it. And so we learned during one rain shower that very little water actually got in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and it was coming from the passenger side of the car. And it would have been sheltered a little bit from the RV, but I'm like, oh. And then I said to Zephyr, I have never been so thankful for hot weather. And she kind of just like looks at me, and we close the door. I walk around the other side, check all of that. Everything's fine over that side as well. I open up the driver's door, put the key in, we put the windows up, and we go on our walk. And the whole way I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I am so thankful for hot weather in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it's been since 36 hours, whatever, since that last rainpour late on Sunday night that started like about 10 p.m. at night. Because the night temperatures have not been below 90 degrees. They get down to like 91, 92, somewhere around there. And the day temperature yesterday was up to like 110. So with the windows down and all that hot air, the car got dried. Whatever water got into the car got completely dried out. And, you know, I was smelling inside the car, no smell of mildew, no smell of anything being damp. And I was like, I am so grateful for hot weather. So that is my story of why I am so grateful for hot weather. When you leave your windows open during the rain, even if they do have screens on them that help prevent a lot of water from going in there, everything gets dried out within the next 24 hours because of the hot weather. So I was like, yay, that is so, and I thought that is so cool. I have found a reason to like hot weather. I am also thankful that it is a dry heat and not the moist heat, because I tell you, 13 summers in Virginia, the day we left Virginia was probably the hottest, stinkiest, most humid day ever. And I looked at Brad and I said, you told me I would climatize to this summer weather. I just want you to know, this is my 13th summer and I still ain't used to this heat. And now I have to sit in the car for the next 12 hours in wet clothing, even though I hadn't been outside that much, because it was just so humid outside. And he just looks at me and he's like, what do you mean you gotta sit in wet clothing? I says, I am like dripping wet here. And all I have done is bring the overnight bag. You know, we've brought the stuff out to the car, hooked up the trailer. We've come over here. I've just walked into that store over there to drop off the, what was I returning? All the DirecTV stuff at like a UPS store. And I've walked back here and got in the car and I am dripping wet. I said, look at my clothes. And I'm like going like this. My clothes are like sticking to me and they're all wet through. And I said, now I have to sit for the next 12 hours in wet clothing. He's like, oh, it'll dry off. I said, you told me I would climatize to the summers here. 13 summers, never did. And now you're telling me my clothes are going to be dry in 12 hours. It's like I said, I still have to sit on a leather seat in the humidity in wet clothing for 12 hours. he wasn't getting the connection on that one. But anyway, so I am thankful for dry heat. I do suck down a lot of water, which is okay with me. I don't mind that at all. And I'm thankful for the heat because we also have the dry heat too. It did an awesome job on drying out the car since all the rains that came through on Sunday night. And I was like thinking, what if I didn't have the screens on there? Would I go out this morning and there would be still like water? Everything would be wet, and you know, how much water would have gotten in the car? And so you're playing the what if game, and I'm like, yeah, no, don't play the what if game. You know, it's over. It's done with. The weather has dried out the car. The car smells great. It doesn't smell mildewy. It doesn't smell damp. The carpets are all dry. The seats are all okay. We're good. So just be thankful for that. I'm like, okay, I am. So that's my Thankful Tuesday story, even if I did forget to put my tunes on today, but that's okay. So that was that story. Let's see, what sort of day we had, Zeph? It's been a warm one today. It has. I think there's a little more humidity in the air than normal because it is a little sticky. But it's been a good day. We got a good walk in this morning and had a great morning call, had a great day on the chat. The morning was fairly steady on the chat, and then all of a sudden I look up at the clock and it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, I haven't had a break yet. So I sent a note to the boss saying, you okay if I take a break? And I'm waiting and getting no reply. I wonder if she's on a call. So I got up, made myself a smoothie, and walked around for a little bit. And because it's such a small space, I can hear if any chats come in. So I thought, well, if I hear any chats, I'll just pop on there and not ignore them and that sort of thing. But so I had a chance to have my smoothie, got everything all cleaned up from that, and sat back down here and checked my email. And then I went to went back to it, and then just as I finished checking my email, ding, new chat was in. And I think it was like about 5 minutes later, the boss says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just saw this. I was doing a training course." I said, "It's okay." She says, "Hopefully it's quiet enough you're able to get a break." I says, "Yep, got it done. It's good. We're all good. We're all good." So yeah, so that was good. And then but the afternoon it just came in waves. It was like busy, 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 quietened off, busy, 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 quietened off. So it was a crazy afternoon. It was awesome. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. And then when I finished on the chat, I then went and did some family tree research on my own family tree. I'm still working on all this famous person stuff. So I've got I'm going through the list of all these famous people that this program says that I am related to, which of course, being the genealogist, we have to check the facts. And so I've been working through some of those, and I'm like, okay, who are ones where it goes up through a common ancestor to where I've got, and so I've been looking for a similar start pattern that goes to as far as I've got, and then let's see what things we have that then take it to the next step. Can I prove the next step? Because I can prove up to a certain number of generations, but can I prove what they've come up with for what follows? So working on that right now, and it's but I'm putting these famous people, and that's everything from royalty to presidents, first ladies. There's entertainers in there. There's just a whole bunch of different types of people: writers, writers, poets. What else is in there? Astronauts. Oh yeah, Florence Nightingale's in there too. Don't know if I'm related to her. That's an interesting one, because I always used to like Florence Nightingale. There was, when I was in school, back in primary school, primary school, elementary school, whatever you guys call it, the first one you go to, not kindergarten, the next one. I always had this fascination with Guy Fawkes and Florence Nightingale, and my speeches would always be, whenever we had to do speeches on famous people, I was either doing it on Florence Nightingale or Guy Fawkes. And so Florence Nightingale was interesting because she was a nurse. My mum used to be a nurse. My mum was a nurse. And and I always wanted to, I am. She's my 8th cousin, 7th time removed, supposedly. Oh, and because I typed in Knight, it came up with Gladys Knight as well. Apparently I'm 14th cousins, 1 time removed with her. So the thing that this thing will tell you, but no relation to Guy Fawkes. Nope, no relation to him. Okay, that's interesting. So Florence Nightingale, of course, was a nurse, and she died in 1910 at the age of 90. She had received, man, I'm looking back a lot of years. She was 90 years old when she died. She was born in 1820, died in 1910. She did get to meet Queen Victoria at some point during that, but she was around during the Crimea War, and she is the one during the Crimea War that instituted, because she knows all these people were getting sick, that somebody who came in with just a broken leg was getting sick by somebody who was in with an infection. So she is the one that started like the nursing movement of, we are going to separate people and put them together by their injury, their illness, that sort of stuff, so we're not contaminating the healthy patients who only have a broken leg or a broken arm or something like that. So she started doing that, and then she started having the doctors just wash their hands between patients to help cut down on the cross-contamination. So that was the person who started all that, and she used to be known as the lady with the lamp, because in that nighttime when everybody was bedded down and sleeping, they would wake up and she would be they described her as gliding down the ward with her candle, with her little lamp, lady with the lamp, with her lamp, just checking on everybody. So she's sort of like the mother of nursing. Very interesting story to her. Amazing person, and so she was one of 2 that I would always choose as my speech that I would do on famous people. The other one was Guy Fawkes. He was a character. Let me tell you, he was a character. He was around in 1600s, beginning of 1600s when he was killed, when he was hung for treason. So he would have been around in the late 1500s, and he was part of not really a gang, but I suppose you could call it a gang. The queen, the royalty at the time, which I think was it a queen, then became a king, and then there was a king. Yeah, so there was a queen who was okay with the Catholics. Then there was a king who was a Protestant and was trying to rule out the Catholics. And this all takes place in England in the late 1500s and like the 1590s. And so the group of Catholics get together, and Guy Fawkes is one of the group. And the reason that they have Guy Fawkes Day on November the 5th in England is to celebrate the discovery of what they call the gunpowder plot. So if you Google the gunpowder plot, it's all laid out there about how this group of Catholics got together and they decided they were going to blow up Parliament at the opening of Parliament when the King was going to be there, so that they could do away with the King and save their Catholic religion and get out from under the Protestant King's rule. And one of their members of their little gang there, so they got all these big barrels of gunpowder, put them into the cellars of Parliament building and all this sort of stuff. And Guy Fawkes one of the members turned around and he had a relative who was one of the members of Parliament at the time. And so he told his relative, and I can't remember if it was a cousin or a brother, I can't remember, and told him not to go into Parliament that day. Didn't tell him why, just told him not to do it. And so the relative thought this was a little strange. So he went and reported it to whoever it is they go and report it to Parliament. And so before the opening of Parliament on November the 5th in 1590 something, I can't remember the year. Or was it early 1600s? I'm pretty sure it was late 1590s. No, hang on. Might have been the early 1600s. I think it was like 1605 or 1606 when Guy Fawkes and his gang were hung for treason. And I'm trying to remember how long they were in prison for. So it's either 1590s or early 1600s, and there'll be a zero. There'll be 160 something. Might have been like 1603, but you can look up the gunpowder plot. It's been a long time since I have done anything with Guy Fawkes. I mean, you're talking 40 something years. These guys found it a little suspicious that this guy got told not to come into Parliament that day. He wasn't told why. He was just like, just don't go to Parliament, just trust me on this. And so they decided to, before the opening of Parliament, before the King arrived, they decided to go and do a search of the building. So they went down into the cellars, and Guy Fawkes happened to be down there checking all the wiring and, all the stuff that they had set up down there to blow up the Parliament building. And he happened to be down there by himself, and he was caught by this search. So apparently now, this is coming from memory, I'll have to go look it all up, but because of that, before the opening of Parliament every year, they do the ceremonial walk through Parliament, checking for any gunpowder plots, checking the place for security and safety before the reigning monarch comes into open Parliament. And so that way they were able to save the King and everybody in Parliament, and Guy Fawkes and his entourage were all arrested and hung for treason. And I think it was like 1605 or 1606 that they were hung for treason. But yeah, it's a very interesting story. I don't know why I got up on that one when I was a kid, because in New Zealand we celebrated Guy Fawkes Day, and then years later I wrote this paper when I was in the Air Force. On boot camp, you do all sorts of things, and including doing writing and presentations and things. And I wrote an essay on, why do we still celebrate a criminal activity from 400 years ago? That was back in the 1980s, so yeah, early 1600s, and talked about, Guy Fawkes and all of that, and the dangers of fireworks and how it upsets animals. And so why are we celebrating this guy from, he tried to blow up the King and Parliament, and why are we celebrating that particular day? So that was my little essay that I did when I was in the Air Force on my boot camp for that one. So there you go. You learned some interesting things tonight and on stuff that I can't remember. So apparently, according to this relative finder thing that I have, I'm supposedly related to Florence Nightingale, which I don't mind at all. because one of my dream jobs when I was a kid was to grow up and be a nurse like my mom. But yes, then I got to the age of 16 and I had a dentist who put me off needles, and I had a fear of needles for a number of years, watching people being jabbed. Because he used, and I had a bad experience with a dentist and needles. So I was afraid of needles for a lot of years, and it wasn't until Brad was diagnosed with cancer that poof, it went away. And I watched every IV that he had put into him. I watched them access whenever I was with him. I watched them access his Metaport. I watched them put IVs in him. I watched them give he'd be given shots for different things. I even watched them put a PICC line in him one time, without any qualms. Now, taking blood out of me is still a little iffy, but the fact that I was able to watch Brad getting jabbed so many times, and I also had to give him injections at one point as well. I had to, put all the stuff, suck the stuff up into the syringe and do the little to get the air bubbles out of there. And yes, I'm very good at giving injections via hypodermic needle in the butt. I know exactly how to do that now. I've had a lot of practice. And I did it without being queasy, without any qualms or nothing. And then I also had to give him injections for around his stomach area for his psoriasis at one point as well. So yeah, I've done a lot of jabbing for somebody who used to be afraid of needles. So, and then my nursing capabilities extended to taking care of my husband and dealing with his needs and that sort of thing. And so I've got the nursing. So I got to do some nursing of some sort, but I couldn't bring myself to go to nursing school and all of that. But I have some friends who have, and I celebrate them. I celebrate all of our first responders, our nurses, our doctors that are out there, and all the work that they do and everything else. So anyway, I've got a DOG that wants to go for a WALK and is giving me the eye. Hi, sweetie girl. So I am going to leave you guys here for today. What famous people do you have in your family tree? That is our question of the month. Are there any stories about famous or infamous relatives in your family tree? Are there rumors in there that you need to that you want to prove? You want to prove if the rumors are true, or do you know for a fact that you have these famous people in your tree and you've got the documentation and everything to support it? What are your family stories on the famous and the infamous? Anyway, I'm out of here. Go have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for Winning Wednesday. Yay! Which means I've got an accountability call tomorrow. Woohoo! Love it. It's going to be an awesome, awesome day tomorrow. In fact, it's going to be super fantastic and sparkling. Hey, Gonera.